Hello, everyone. Due to some technical difficulties, we've been forced to do this a bit later than we should have. But this is Britball with the Breens in conjunction with our technical support services. So today we are going to have a look at cover two plays, plays that beat cover two coverage to go with our first topic of red zone plays last week. So I'll take up the slide and we'll just kick off. Um, Share screen. Okay, so this is our top 5 pass plays to beat cover 2. Few notes to start with, as always. If teams are consistently coming out in cover 2, it is most likely that you go to the run game. Okay, so run the ball straight at them as the strong safeties out the box. So we're assuming that your O-line can't beat their defensive line in run blocking before you're going to pass. So if this is the case, then you would normally try and run the ball as much as you can. This is based on teams playing base cover 2, not 2-man. However, a lot of these plays would still work against 2-man, even if there was adjusted coverage. We know that running 4 verticals against cover 2 is effective, but nobody needs an explanation into how to stop that. Really, it's not something we need to explain. And screens are really useful against cover 2. Chris will maybe explain that later on as to why that is. So a standard cover 2 defense, as I said, 2 high safeties. So you're losing a man in the box from your standard cover 1, cover 3. And really, the biggest thing here is that the corners and safeties have to be extremely switched on. And most of the time, that's who you're targeting in cover 2. So the safeties have a lot of ground to cover, but if they're not clever, then they have a lot of ground that you leave open. So really, a lot of these plays will be targeting either the safeties or the corners. Again, we're assuming here 4-3 defense. It doesn't matter 3-4, 4-3. It's really not going to matter with the in terms of where we're actually wanting to place the ball. So the first one. Okay, so we call this isolate. Chris, you want to take this one away?
Yeah, well, basically, when you're talking about anything to do with cover 2, and obviously in a base sense, there's a couple of areas of weakness you kind of want to focus on. So naturally, the corners have to stay quite shallow. So anything going into the flat is a no-go zone. It's football suicide. You don't want to do it. And because the two deep safeties are covering half a field each, naturally the weakness is straight down the middle. As Sean kind of alluded to as well before, like, yes, you're going to have, you're going to lose a man in the box. So realistically, it's your best time to run the ball. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to go through sort of this kind of the passing concepts. And what you're doing here is by sending a man deep on the left-hand side, just on a fade or a fly route, whatever you want to use, the free safety naturally kind of has to lean over that way because there's nobody else to cover. So the cornerback's going to have to stay short, especially with the running back, potentially coming out the backfield. The free safety is going to have to go over that way. What that's going to do is it's going to leave the strong safety having to make a choice. He's either going to have to commit to staying near the middle with the wide receiver, the furthest in on the right hand side, running a post, or he's going to have to kind of try and take the guy on the run to the outside, the slot receiver running the corner. And either way, he's going to have to make a decision one way or the other. If he tries to split the difference, take your pick. He's not going to be able to cover both of them, and so it's basically reading off where that safety leans to. If he wants to take away the post, then you take the corner. If he wants to go out wide towards the corner, you're going to take the post. You're obviously going to have linebackers dropping into coverage. That sort of 5 yard in from the receiver on the right hand side is really to kind of pin that corner in there. but you are going to have a window. You're talking about, especially if this is to the sort of the field side, that there's going to be a lot of ground for that linebacker to get out and cover. So there is sort of that window in between, almost where the corner and post routes separate. So there's several options on this. As I say, you're going to, if you do choose to flare the running back out to the left-hand side, he's going to hold the corner and the left-hand side linebacker in, although he's right-hand side linebacker if you're on the defense. So yeah, it kind of gives you several options, but your primary read is going to be off of what the safeties do, which is quite standard, but it's pretty much on cover two. That's exactly what you're looking for. If the free safety decides that he's going to come in and try and help out and cover the post, and the strong safety is going to slide over and take the corner, then naturally you're going to take the outside fade on the other side. Again, not really an advisable strategy, but this is one of the things about going after the weak spots, is that they're going to have to choose their poison really, and choose which way they're going to cover, and it's going to leave you with a man free.
Yeah, so the reason this is called isolate everyone is obviously we're trying to isolate the strong safety here. That really, if the quarterback's reading this, if the free safety is cheating over to help out the strong safety, then he's just going to take the one-on-one shot, because that corner is just going to leave that guy to run after 5 yards. So we're isolating that strong safety to make a decision. Really, if the quarterbacks are clever, they'll either look to the left-hand side first to draw the free safety across, or they'll focus in on the right-hand side quite hard so that the strong safety jumps down to that corner route and it leaves the post across the middle wide open. But either way, you're isolating that strong safety to make a decision. And if he doesn't make a decision quick enough, you've got a route. If he makes a decision too quick, you've got a route. So there's really that option there. And again, Chris is right there, is that the corners, they only drop to between 5 and 7 yards, and they'll sit there and they'll come up into the flat. So really, the play is totally designed around going after the safeties for most of these plays, but this one is for isolating that strong safety. Again, you can do anything with the running back, right? You can take him in a block, you can play action him, right, Chris? It's just, we've just drawn it like this purely because we want to make sure that this corner stays down in the flat if we're going to hit the go route on the left hand side. Okay, so second one, okay, call this strong seam. This is my personal favorite against cover two, because it royally messes with the safeties. So for this one, we have a few options you can go to. So obviously, we have the man on the left-hand side. This free safety will have to come across here. So as soon as this starts off as this is a slant corner. So as soon as this starts off as a slant, this safety is going to have to take note. So the corner will probably come in a little bit to try and get this, cut it off in his zone. Free safety has to come across the top, which then leaves again the strong safety try to cover two routes. So we have a seam run by the tight end and a deep out run by the slot receiver. Now, obviously, this guy's on the line. It's just the way I've drawn it. So
no, it's not, because the tight
no,
end.
he's not. Sorry, I'm speaking rubbish.
The tight end always.
This guy's on the line. Sorry, it's just the way I've drawn it. So this guy is doing a drag. Now he's doing a drag to make sure he keeps the corner's focus, to kind of potentially drag him in even, and that may provide another route on this swing pass to the running back. So, but really, the number one route to hit here is the out. So the deep out, he's coming up. The corner's focused on this guy in his zone. The strong safety should be held by the seam route, by the tight end, and it should leave a pretty easy completion to the out. Now again, if the quarterback stares this route down, the strong safety likely comes over. So if the quarterback snaps the ball and stares this route down, he potentially comes down here. But because this will be a later route, he has a lot of field to work with. So he is basically running into open space. And again, this guy over here is basically there if this free safety cheats. So if he cheats over, you take the one-on-one shot. That corner is going to come in slightly to try and cut off this slant. And then as soon as that he releases to the corner, he's going to have acres of space to go into. But really, deep out is the number one read here. If this is available, then you take this route. If the strong safety comes across to take this out, it leaves the seam route open. And because this is a later read, the free safety should be already over covering this guy. Have you got anything to add to that one, Chris?
Yeah, just as you say with regards to that seam as well, like this is where you kind of need your players to be switched on to, and that, you know, if he sees the strong safety going out the way, you kind of just want him to almost run that straight line straight down the seam. If that safety is more hesitant to go out, although he's not necessarily the read, you almost want him to bend it ever so slightly towards the middle of the field, so he's kind of got that inside leverage on the safety. It's one thing we kind of never spoke about in the first one, but it kind of goes without saying. Obviously, we're speaking about base cover 2, assuming sort of everyone drops into their zones. However, teams are from time to time going to send a blitz. Now, again, talking about when you need your receivers to be switched on and your quarterback needs to be switched on, is that if they were to, from where we're looking at, if they're to blitz, say, the linebacker from the right-hand side, then you know immediately that you've got that drag route is just going into nothing but space, as well as you're kind of going to have that 2v1 on that side with the running back flaring out wide. So you always want your players to be aware that naturally what you are almost wanting to do is if someone does bring a blitz, you want to throw to where the blitzer came from. That gives you a window. There's nobody there to cover because he's blitzed. So it's just kind of having your guys switched on to that sort of thing. Just slight differences just to make sure that your receivers are running into space rather than just walking straight into coverage.
Yeah, and again, there is the case is that if your corner is very smart, right, he, no matter what, he is stuck because he is thinking, right, it's a pass play. I'm in a 5 zone here. The guys might run in behind me. I'll drop back. Great. But then that flare is wide open and there is nobody to stop him. If he goes, oh, there's a flare coming and he comes up to get this guy, then again, it's a lot of ground for the strong safety to cover. So, but Chris is right. That if your players are smart, there's multiple routes open here. But really, the one we're targeting is the deep out to start with. Because this corner is going to have to make a decision, it's going to leave this safety waiting on his decision to see kind of where he wants to go. Really, he takes this deep half, it shouldn't make a difference. And if he comes across to make the corner, the out route, you take the seam. If he stays with the seam, you take the out. And really, that's the easy way of looking at it. But Chris is right. All these routes have to be aware of what's going on. If Chris is standing at quarterback and he feels like this outside linebacker is this linebacker's coming as a blitz, he maybe takes the running back and sends him to block. Obviously, that takes a route away, makes it a bit easier for the corner, but there's still these 2 routes to choose from between the corner and the safety. So lots of options there. Right, the standard cover 2 destroyer. One of your favorites, Chris? All slant.
Yeah, I mean, although it's classified as all slant, I mean, I think we've kind of tried to show in the drawing the importance of the different depths of the slants. You're kind of again, it's about manipulating what the defense are showing in front of you. You want your outside guys to run their cuts a little bit slimmer, to kind of pull the safeties apart. Realistically, the guy you're wanting to target is the slot receiver on the left-hand side because he's naturally going after the soft spot in the middle. You want the slot receiver on the right-hand side to really fatten his cut because basically his job there is to pin the linebackers. If he's coming almost across the front of the linebackers, then they're going to be waiting in anticipation for him getting the ball, which leaves the guy behind going straight into the soft spot in the middle. If your guys on the outside have fatter cuts, they're going to be running straight into the safeties, and you're likely to blow your own play up. That's why you really need them to thin those out and pull them apart to basically open that gap and make it bigger. Like all the other plays, okay, the halfback's not doing anything at the moment, but it is kind of up to you what you want to do with it. You can kind of mix up. I mean, things you can even run things like angles and stuff, or pass protect or flares. It's entirely up to you if you want to use them as sort of a bigger distraction. But primarily, you're going after that slant that goes straight across the middle.
Yeah, and this one's actually a really good one for RPO. So at run pass option, this is probably one of the best plays, and you'll see it in the NFL all the time, is that if the linebackers are too quick on bailing, you give it to the running back and let him run straight up the middle. But
Yeah.
again, Chris is right here, is that the safeties should be pulled apart by these routes. These corners are basically null and void after 5 yards in this route, because there's no way they are coming in to get these routes. So they are basically standing there doing nothing. This is where, for instance, they might go to cover 2 man, right? But even then, they go to cover 2 man, the corners are going to have to be extremely quick to recognize that this guy isn't coming out, because if this guy comes out, you're done if he follows the deep route. Also, if they do go to cover 2 man, you flare the running back out and he's wide open. So there's multiple different options here, but really, yeah, the 2 safeties get pulled apart by the 2 deeper slants. Then this one holds the linebackers, and this one should be in a massive gaping hole. A few people asked us about actually showing video. Unfortunately, we don't have access to the video where we've done this. I mean, we do have some on our highlight videos online, but really we don't have any facility at the moment to show you exactly how this works. But we've done this numerous times. Just take this slant route and leave it wide open. And again, even if the safeties are really good, like East Kilbride, for instance, when we played East Kilbride, I caught a few of these routes, and the safeties adjusted really fast and came in and smashed me. But at the same time, it doesn't matter. It's a 7, 8, 9, 10 yard gain straight away, and there's nothing really much they can do about it.
The thing is like with most plays, kind of one of the beauties of these things is that you can adjust them. So if you know that the outside linebackers, perhaps they've got really strong outside linebackers that get into their zones really quickly. Again, we've spoke about things like the RPO, about handing the ball off if they bail really quick. If you feel like that outside linebackers can kind of interrupt those 2 slot slants, then one thing that you can do is you can fatten the cuts of the 2 inside guys and make them go after the safeties, and thin the cuts, and you can fatten the cuts of the outside guys and basically take the quick slant on the sort of 2-yard gain inside of the corner, because he'll be anticipating he's got help from the linebackers on the inside as well as the safeties deep. So you're more likely to get that sort of inside release, inside route off him.
Yeah. So again, you just have to have everyone switched on. If no matter what you're doing in American football, if someone's not switched on, then something won't work. But if everybody is switched on to these routes, and even if it doesn't work the first time, you can go back and attack the second time, knowing exactly what you've seen the first. So there's loads of different options. Right. And wheelie cross. Chris wasn't over keen on this name, but he got no choice.
Skirted it.
He got no choice. So again, this one, pretty interesting one. And again, we're going after the safeties. You're going to see this every play, because it's the easiest thing to do here. Again, running back isn't doing anything at the moment. We can decide exactly what we want to do with him. Really, for this play, because this play is a little bit longer developing, he's probably staying into block on this one. We have 3, possibly 4 deep routes here that are going to need time to develop. So the potential is that people are coming after the quarterback. So on the left-hand side isn't easy. It's just a skinny slant. So we're having, or skinny post, whichever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. We're just having this guy come across to take one of the safeties out. Again, the corner is going to be bored, because after 5 yards, he's got no responsibility here. Safety should come across. Now, even if the safety doesn't come across, if he sits, this route, it is either going to drag him in to cover it, and leave the strong safety to cover the next one in, or they're both going to try and cover this route, which is quite common. I've seen that numerous times where both safeties try and cover the post route and leave two guys wide open running down the right hand side. So again, this route is to make sure the safeties stay. If this guy is coming in, it's to make sure both these safeties stay. If the safeties are clever, this route will come in. Okay, the strong safety will take this route, the free safety will take this route, and again, it leaves this wheel, should leave this wheel wide open. And because this is later developing, the likelihood is that the first person the strong safety is watching is not this guy. Really, he will be reading the immediate danger, which should be this one. This inner slot or whatever you've got him as tight end. He should be reading this guy because he's the immediate danger. Then this guy coming in the way, running the inside wheel, he's the next danger. So really, this guy running the outside wheel shouldn't even be on the safety's radar until it's too late. Obviously, the one problem you have here is if this corner is really good in physical. If he's good in physical and he's on the flat, he can bump this guy and stop him getting downfield. But the likelihood is that this corner gets drawn in a little bit by this inside wheel because he's playing the flat anyway, so it doesn't matter. So he gets drawn in to cover the flat, and this guy runs right down the back of him, and he's wide open down the sideline for a catch. Again, if the strong safety and free safety are wide to start with, so say the strong safety is over here, if he immediately sees this is a threat, moves over to split these two, strong safety, free safety, he's out covering this one, it should leave the post route open. As Chris said before, if they really cheat, so if he comes over and sits over here and he sits in the middle of the field and says, well, I'm fast enough to try and get out here, you take the one-on-one. I mean, your free safety has got to be really switched on here if he's going to play games with a quarterback. So it just leaves, it's just another variety of 4 deep vertical shot, but it's not as boring. And it really leaves plenty of opportunity here.
I think one thing that kind of we spoke about at the start, but one thing this kind of setup also highlights is why screens work against this kind of coverage. Okay, we're kind of showing a setup. The likelihood is that the linebacker on the right hand side pushes out a little bit more, but realistically, you've got 3-on-2 on that side up until the strong safety gets involved, and you're talking about him being sort of 15 yards back. And quite frankly, if you can gain 15 yards on every play, you're going to have a fun day. But yeah, on this play, it is sort of that variation of 4 deep. And the reason 4 deep works is because you're basically running 4 guys into 2 covering. Naturally, maths, it's great, it works. And just throwing in that kind of crossing pattern on the right-hand side just kind of forces you to kind of pull them apart a bit, stretch them across, because it first looks like that the outside guy's going sort of shallow inside as well. It'll be more inclined to help with the safety going to his most dangerous man, being the wide receiver running the post on the inside.
Yeah, and again with the screen thing, this is a good. You're right. This is a good example of the screen. So really, you can imagine if this was a screen, this outside receiver is going to get the ball quickly. 1 block down, 10 yards of open space. So that's what Chris is speaking about when it comes to screen game. That no matter how you use these guys to block, I'm just using this as easy that the slot receiver goes up and takes the corner, and this receiver goes up and takes the backer. It's one receiver versus strong safety for the tackle. So if you get this right, again, that is an option to go. But for this play, it's really isolating 4 against 2. The last one, you're out, we'll call it, because there's a lot of out routes here. Now, this one's a little bit different, okay, because it is reliant on them biting. So the corner here is going to be sitting down. He's going to have to take this short out route. Now, as a corner previously, I can tell you that from my point of view, if these out routes are not run at the right depth, I can cover both routes if I'm smart, right? So if I'm clever and these are not run properly, I can probably make a play on both these routes at British American football level, probably. Obviously not at a higher level, because where you're sitting, you can either drop deep and come up and play this, or you can sit shallower, and if you think it's going to go over your head, you can then try and make a play on the ball. Now the problem comes is that again you have to make that decision. So if you're not smart on here, if you're just generally playing your zone, which you should be, you'll come up and take this short out. Now that again leaves the strong safety 1-on-1, 1-on-2 with a deep out and a go route. Now, really, he should take the go route. The go route is the touchdown play, so he should really be bailing straight over to get this go route. The free safety in this play is literally going to do nothing. There's no way, even if he cheats, there is no way he has effect on this play in cover 2. He is literally, I've cut it off there. He's literally playing his own space. He has to stay there purely because if he doesn't, a swift tap on the helmet and this guy can go straight up the field. Now, obviously, we've got him doing an in because we want everyone this side to be held in this area with this in and the flare route by the running back. But it really leaves this linebacker, the strong safety, and the corner to try and cover these three routes. And unless they are extremely athletic and clever, they're not going to be able to. There's going to be something open. Really, again, the target route is that deep out.
Yeah, and again, like as we're kind of saying as well, that if the corner is going to be kind of switched on, he's going to be able to drop in sort of in between those two out routes. There is going to be a window for the inside receiver running that shallow out if the ball comes out immediately. If he's going to drop off and you know that that's what he's going to do, he's going to continue to drop off in that situation. You need to hit that out route immediately. If you delay it, you're risking a pick six. And it's a shallow out against cover 2 is generally a quarterback's worst enemy. But if you know he's going to keep dropping off to take away that deeper out, then you have got a window as long as that's out immediately. If you know he's kind of, maybe he's staying shallow, but he is dropping a wee bit, you would want to stretch that out in the slot on the right hand side. If you make it more of sort of a 12 to 15, then you're forcing him to cover more ground, and it gives you a bigger window. Obviously, you can talk about having this to the field side or to the short side, but it gives you that more stretch. Obviously, if it's to the field, it's a bigger throw for your quarterback. But if you trust your quarterback to be able to throw the ball all the way to the sideline, sort of 10, 15 yards deep, if you've got a guy that can do that, then that's kind of where you are really wanting to go with that.
Yeah, and unlike the other ones where really on the rest of the plays we're reading the safeties, this time we're reading this corner. So really, if the quarterback he looks to throw the quick out, the corner's going to go, oh, he's going to bite down on that, and it's going to leave the space behind him wide open. So really, whereas the rest of the plays we are really reading the safeties every time, this is a bit different purely because we want to read this corner, we want to isolate him to stay down in his zone, stay shallow as possible, and leave the strong safety with two routes to cover, which he's not going to be able to do if your receivers run the routes properly. So again, on you go.
Yeah, another thing we can sort of say about this as well is although we've kind of got the guys on the left-hand side set up to keep the free safety and the linebackers over that way, we've also spoke about how the chances of him getting across an impact in this are, well, low to none. So what you can do is if you feel like that corner's got more of a tendency to cheat back the way, you can use that halfback to flare him out the other side, and that'll force him to hold him in. Or again, things like you can use play action to that side just to keep that cornerback in in shallow to give you a bigger window as well.
Yeah. So again, this one doesn't look like there's a lot of options, but there is. I mean, there is only one or two people you can go to, but there's a lot of options about how you hit this. But again, really, it's isolating this corner to see how he is. Again, we'll come up against corners that are extremely good, and they will try and sniff this out straight away. But even if the corners sniff this out, if this strong safety makes one wrong move, that's a go route touchdown, and really that's where it comes into it, is that no matter which way you look on any of these plays, there is places you can go that are going to isolate someone off, and really you're going to end up causing deep trouble to a cover two defense. Okay, is there anything else you want to explain about anything, or we're fine with that?
No, I mean, obviously, as we kind of touched on, like this is just purely base and it's drawings. I get that. We'd love to be able to show you some film, and we do have, but unfortunately, we don't have access to it. Yeah, everything works fine in theory, but if they've got 4 monstrous defensive linemen that blow past your O-line every play, then yeah, drawings don't work. I understand that. But when you're going up against a pure shown cover two defense, these plays are going to work. You know, if you've got the right setup, you've got your guys drilled in, these plays are going to work. You know, we were, you know, when we played East Kilbride, for example, you know, we were pretty much well and truly outgunned in the trenches. You know, sort of, you know, we're talking about multiple sacks in a game with very little time to throw the ball, and even then, we got about 5 or 6 of these away. You know, throughout the game because of the way they set up, and it allowed for a quick read and a quick throw. So it does work. I mean, it's more about getting these things down. You want to get your receivers switched on, your quarterback switched on, your running back switched on, like every play, to be able to notice where the weaknesses are. You know, for example, we're looking at this one here, like the isolate one that we were looking at.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at that and your strong say, you know, your inside receiver on the right hand side doesn't really know what he's doing and kind of runs just straight down the field, and your slot receiver's not 100% sure and he kind of just really slims his cut, then you're going to give yourself problems. So it's important that these guys, you drill this into your guys so that they know what they're looking for on the field, so that they can adjust how they're doing things to really make the holes bigger, make the gaps bigger, and make an easier throw for your quarterback.
Yeah, so there's plenty of options here. Again, we're going to continue to go through these different things, different coverages and that over the next couple of weeks. But these, again, are some plays that we've used or we've seen used in the NFL or college football that just rip people to bits when they're doing cover two. So it's something to take into consideration. So what we'll do is we'll be back with another one, hopefully next week, barring any technical difficulties. But if not, we'll catch you soon. Thank you very much.
Cheers.